I'm really flattered when I have the opportunity to be in the presence and to have an intimate conversation with anybody, but definitely someone like yourself.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So this is Hava Rose.
Hi guys.
Hey. Looking cozy and cuddly and comfy as we start our conversation. Hava, as far as I know, you are a doctor, a chiropractor. You are a writer. You are an entrepreneur. You have created a very well-known workshop, well-known and internationally known by many. And these are the things for me that I know on the surface. And the mission of this podcast is, yes, I can Google your name and I can see those things. But what's most important and what I'm most excited about is taking those lids off and seeing what is really in each of those jars. So what has brought you to each of those places and stages in life? And I keep saying excited, but it's so real. The fact that one of the things, that mission is so similar to the mission of many things that you have done. Yeah. So I know that this conversation and the things that you have to offer, they are going to be magical because here we are for the same reason, like-minded and excited to dive deeper, which is something that you do in your book, which is something you've been doing all your life with journaling, which is something that you have dedicated yourself to helping others do. Yeah. You are royalty. I'm excited to highlight you.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
I'm trying to figure out the comfort of my.
No, you're fine.
Too cozy. I'm like,
you're good. So I'm just going to say to our listeners and viewers and to you right now, I feel like this conversation is going to go ping, 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 like the ping pong ball that's all over the place because everything is so connected and meaningful and important. The first thing that's coming to my mind right now on an exciting note is the fact that you have released your book, Daydreams, Delusions, and Connections.
Yes! Pre-orders are available.
Yes, that is straight up what I want to know.
There's still a week left to pre-order your copy, to pre-order a gift for someone, to share on your social media. So we're still the last week of pre-orders is the 5th.
Perfect. And how had the entire pre-order process gone? Tell me about everything leading up to today.
Yeah, so it's been wild. So it was interesting because I did IG Live chat earlier and we with a friend of mine who's also self-publishing. So we kind of talked about the process. Yes. And I was recognizing that throughout my career of many things, I'm generally selling services in a sense. Yeah. So this is the first tangible product I'm selling.
Okay.
So one, that's new for me to be marketing myself for something tangible.
Yeah.
A book.
Yeah.
Also my first time selling a book and I did some of the research as to how do you build a plan for marketing for your book. And I took some of that. I took some of my own, but it's also trial and error right now. I've never done this before. So I knew I wanted to do pre-orders. In the exciting but not so exciting news is that Amazon is really easy to self-publish. Once you do it, it's really easy to use it to self-publish. Yes. But I'm also it's still Amazon.
Yes.
And they do take a pretty nice cut of any sales, which is expected because they're printing your stuff.
Right.
But I wanted to maximize, at least initially, the marketing into my control, also bringing it to my own website shop. So I knew I had to do some type of plan and some type of push to get it pre-orders sold and all that. So
amazing.
Thankfully, I have a really great community. I have loving family and friends and such like that. And the Right Echo, which is the journaling workshop and community that I built, they've witnessed the journey and they understand what's going on more.
Absolutely.
But because of that, I have this community and I'm so on social media. People, I have a little bit of a following and I don't mind storying. I've gotten over that a while ago. I don't mind being on there. And I was I know I have to push the thing and create a little bit of visual with it. And then kind of as I usually work.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a plan going into things, and I started what I think is. So in the midst, we started this last week. We started, and we being me, I always say we because it's the community too.
Yes, absolutely.
We started IG Live conversation series to also build conversation around the book. To simultaneously build the following, to simultaneously reach new audience, to simultaneously, you know, like the potential pre-orders being elsewhere, you know, and but having fun with it and understanding that the book that has been published and I'm selling and putting out in the world is a time capsule of journal entries. So
wonderful.
There might be a disconnect if someone doesn't know that, right?
Yeah.
So to at least create conversation in a media way around the topics that are being addressed, just to, you know, dive deep and like talk about the things that so many don't. And now I push the pre-order one more week, also realizing that I probably am not receiving the books until then. So I was like,
gotcha.
I might as well spend it.
Wonderful. More opportunity for it to get into everyone's hands.
Yeah, and I want to make the pre-order special too, because I mean, for me, the people that are already on it, gonna buy it, don't worry about it. It's like that means a lot. I mean, it's like was wild that first week of just seeing the names pour in of people purchasing, you know? And so for me, I also wanted to do something special for people who were pre-ordering. So I mean, I'm shipping them. It's on Amazon, so I get to package them how I wish. I get to sign the copies. I also got a little, like, very small additional gift that'll be within the pre-orders, you know, just to, like, because it means a lot that people have, like, you know, taken the time to just, like, support the cause in that way. And, like, and then who knows? And then we'll make it live on Amazon after, probably like a couple weeks after all the pre-orders are sent out. I want to make sure everyone gets their pre-order before anyone else can get it.
So exciting. And I am so happy that I had the opportunity to be in that group of folks and pre-order, and it will be here soon enough. I can't wait to dive into this conversation and then obtain even more information, intimate or personal information, because I just feel so blessed, dude. I get to have this conversation with you, and the type of understanding, the way my understanding of the book, then reading it, will be able to just expand and shift because of what you and I speak on today. I'm crying.
Yeah, it's going to be a different experience. Yeah, for those people who know me intimately and like these conversations, it's going to read like you're going to be so much more connected to it, which is really dope. But
I'm so excited. And I thank you again for your time and being able and willing to sit here today. So it sounds to me like we will be going in reverse chronological order. So because we've highlighted the book, we've spoken on the book. After a few questions about the book, it's only right that we speak on the community that you've already mentioned, that is the Right Echo, and what brought you there, and how they've been a support system for you, and how you've supported those individuals. And then what led you to the Right Echo. So backwards seems like it's working. So as far as the book goes, daydreams, delusions, and disconnections, I'd like to ask for not a summary, but what truly comes to your mind when you hear those three terms. Why exactly that's the title of the book, you know? And I'd love for you to separate it the same way you separated it with your Instagram Live series, you know? They each are each worth diving into. Yeah,
so in the process of putting this book together, which was already years ago, I deep dove into all my journals from the age of like 14-ish on up. I still have all of them. And I just started, it wasn't necessarily, I mean, I was like, I wanted to do a book, but I didn't know. And as I was reading through and kind of like, oh, this would be a good one. This would be a good one. I started to create these categories that came to me from reading the material I had. And I am someone that has lots of words inside of them. And I do love play of words. And I do love to get lost in words. Sometimes not everyone follows what I'm saying. And so for me, I wanted this journaling, right, is of the mind, of thought. And I wanted to also create intentionally or unintentionally. It was, I think it was more subconsciously intentional, but to just create that illusion of journaling in a title form where daydreams, delusions, disconnections. I love the alliteration of all the D's. I had to stick to that because I have two more like chapters in the book, dreams and declarations. But these were the first three that like really came in the divide. And for me, those words, although all meaning different things, all have this, like this, you know, blurred lines. Like there's blurred lines with daydreams. There's blurred lines with delusions. There's blurred lines with disconnection. And to me, blurred lines is so much of what journaling is. It's having your thought be transformed in some way. Blurredness of like writing it and then reading it and seeing it and digesting it in a different way. Like instead of digesting it from here, digesting it from paper. There's like so much blurring of lines within journaling. At least the way I practice and the way I facilitate. Yeah. So those words to me are these romanticized words where they each have these, there's like a blurredness, like everything kind of overlaps one another. And similarly in the cover art that my dear friend Alexia created for the book, when we talked very briefly about kind of like the colors and imagery, I mean, I kind of left it to her. She also knows what I do really intimately. But the picture she created for me was like, this is the visual of what I'm trying to do with the book. It's like this kind of looks like a scene, but isn't necessarily a scene. It's very blurred.
Of the colors, like, the way that they bleed together. It's
it's just like this mystical feeling that I get when I hear daydreams, when I hear delusions, like negative or positive, there's still this similar energy to me of these words.
And the fact that you just said negative or positive, that's one of the first thoughts I had as you were explaining when looking for the connection between these three words. The fact that daydream has the positive connotation for the most part, delusion has the negative connotation for the most part. Disconnection can be one of the two. I can disconnect from something in a positive way and be a good thing, or I can be disconnected from something and it'd be terrible. So I love that you mentioned that duality, that polarity. I think that has a lot to do with how people will receive the title and the meaning behind the book.
And there's so much duality in, I mean, life is duality, right? And I know more when a lot of my writing references duality and being a contradiction. And so, these words too are like you're saying, like they both, and it's one of the things I'm bringing up in like the IG Live chats is like, I also talk about the positive and negative of these things, right? Because there is like such beauty in them regardless, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's definitely the pinpoint of the energy of the words for me. Was like, this just feels, these are the words. And I love these words, and I love words.
The right echo. You have revolved so much of your life around writing yourself as an author, but then facilitating the writing process for other people as well.
And
as you said, there's a large community. A lot of people have been drawn to this process that you've been helping them through, drawn to you because of, it's cyclical, because of the way that you understand writing, the way that you're able to facilitate them. So tell me a little bit more about what that workshop truly is and means to you, and the connections that you've made because of it and how it led you to that book.
The Right Echo is really special. It's about 1.5 years now that it's been, two and a half.
I know, right? Because then we lost a whole year last year, so
I'm like confused by that. But it was really a beautiful opportunity that I saw that pushed me to create it, and there were two things that people came to me about often. They wanted to hear my story, how I broke away from like an office life solely to like doing other things, because I have other business ventures that happened before Right Echo. And that was one thing. People wanted to understand how I did it. That was one of the things. The other thing what was always brought to my attention, I carried a journal with me always. I always had a journal. And two of the things were, one, when I finally started to share my work intimately with people, very few people heard my work prior. These words need to be shared. You need to share these words. This is, and I'm just writing. But then
you just love words.
That, was that?
I said you just love words, like you said.
I love words.
Yes.
And then the other thing was, I had the question of when people knew I was a journaler, whether they heard my words or not, it was kind of like, well, how do you journal?
Yeah.
Or I'm bad at keeping a journal. Or like always in reference to not knowing or putting themselves down about how they journal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, I was fortunate to have a really good friend, Cass, who's also a writer, and like we understood each other in that way. And we got to host. She stayed with me for a short time, and while she was there, like, you want to do an event? Like, we both love doing events. Let's host something, and it was a writing workshop.
Yeah.
And then she left. But I was left with this, like, this is something. This is something. And for me, so the opportunity as a way to have an event, which I love hosting. I've been in event life before this. Yeah. I had a different company in event world, and I love hosting regardless. Yeah. I also love watching people have an aha realization.
Yes, the light bulb.
Subconsciously at that point, consciously now, subconsciously, I knew people are very vulnerable with me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the nature of just like the energy I bring for people, is people feel like they can open up with me.
Yeah.
And I knew that this was an opportunity to help people see that journaling is like whatever you want it to be.
Yes.
And so guided journaling is what it came to be, is a guided journaling workshop where I just facilitate an opportunity for people to journal without them having to think about what to do. Right. But I'm not doing the work. I'm just like, I mean, I'm creating this based on like, maybe there's a theme this one, or, you know, there's a full moon we want to do it for, but you know, I just create prompts and help people just journal. But then the more powerful part of it is allowing people to reflect immediately to themselves and then with the collective. And that's where the power in the journaling really is, I believe, is being able to shift that perspective, whether through seeing your thoughts on paper or talking your thoughts out or hearing someone else's thoughts on the same prompt. And so that was like the most powerful piece of it all for me. And it just compelled, and I realized how much people appreciated the space to be heard and to express these things that, you know, not everyone always shares, and not everyone shares at these workshops, but a lot of people do. And I know that a lot of these people aren't sharing other places or don't feel like they can. And these are the most intimate pieces of them. These are their thoughts, you know, and like, so for me, that was the powerful piece that had me realize how powerful this is for the community, and like something that I love doing and it comes easy for me. Why would I not have a space for people to do exploration and expression and perspective shifts, you know?
Right. And it says something about your spirit and personality that for it to have been so meaningful to you, you didn't want to just keep it to yourself. No. You know, you experienced the freedom and, you know, the support that you were giving yourself in writing, and you knew that you wanted that for others. That just shows how beautiful you are inside and out. You mentioned knowing that you are the type of person that people find easy to open up to.
Yeah.
How do you sift and sort while you support and listen? And what are some things, just again, personally, just for Hava, some of the things that you have to practice and do in order to keep that weight from getting too heavy?
Yeah. I think I'm still figuring this out, right? For years, I realized that I could carry a lot. I was able to carry a lot without it affecting me totally.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I did. And then it catches up, right? So for years, I just held the space. I took it all, whatever. Fast forward, I am someone that needs alone time. So let me just preface. I am someone that like likes to be out and but I'm also very introverted at times, and like homebody. I'm like, I make plans and flake on them kind of thing.
Right.
But that alone time is really necessary for me. And in the past year and a half of the pandemic, I've really been able to understand my energy field and understand how much of it I can absorb with other people's, and how much I can be there for people without absorbing it.
Yeah.
And the right echo actually has been a blessing, because I feel like it allows me to hold that space for a lot of people without fully being taken over by it.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm still someone that like one-on-one can connect. And what happens generally is, and not so much with the pandemic, because I'm not meeting people in real life as much anymore. But, you know, someone reaches out, we connect, and it's like the first time we meet, it's all the information they have for me is there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't mind. It's a compliment to me. But
I feel like I did that. I'm sorry.
No, and it's not like but I'm very like okay with that. And but it's from that first interaction with people where I know if I'm able to hold space for this person or not, based on the energy of it, right?
Right.
I've had it with people that I like never talk to again. I'm like, that energy was like not serving me. But you know, so I'm able to distinguish now and meeting people for the first time. Like, I'm very intuitively led, and I know when I feel something not so good, and so I'm good at like listening to that now, because I used to not listen to it even if I felt it.
Right.
And I've realized that in order for me to be able to do the things I want and believe I should be doing in order to share the knowledge and value with so many others, I need to find ways to hold space for people in a, what's the word? In a more expansive way.
Okay.
That also allows me not to absorb so much. So like one-on-one, I love one-on-one. I'm such a one-on-one person, but I know for me, that takes a lot more of my energy.
Yeah.
I'm able to have a separateness in the right echo a bit more, where I'm able to allow the group to hold each other. I just like create the space for it. And like, so for me, I'm like, this is a more effective way for me to do what I do and to show up and share that energy, to allow people to be open and vulnerable and share without it being so much of my own energy.
Yes. Creating the space and then also attracting the people that need to be in that space for one another, a whole bunch of like-minded individuals that are going to step up and find the person that they then can hold space for and support, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Beautiful. That is powerful work. I mean, the thought of being the leader of a congregation just came to mind. Like, if there was a Hava Rose church, this is the congregation. We're coming together because of what we believe about you. You allow us to believe in you and your actions, you know, and the things that you're doing and promoting.
Yeah.
And then we come together and promote those same things. And clearly your actions, your missions are worth supporting in that way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Of course.
I always say I'm just the reflection for most people that they don't have, or they're not seeing.
That they don't have. Yes.
Yeah. Or they're not ready to see yet, you know, and it's just like, we're all just reflections, right? And so when you create a room with an energy and an intention, the reflection can shine through that much easier. You know?
Before I step too far away from the right echo, as we go on this journey with you, thinking about the many workshops that you've held, the many people that you've met.
Yeah.
Knowing that as of the pandemic, you still made virtual options happen.
Oh, that was hard.
But you did it. Oh, I did not know that it was hard. Yeah. What aspect of it was hard? I'll remember my.
Oh, just for me to come to grips with it. Cause I was like, it won't translate the energy I created in the room.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I was like not really into it, but I knew it had to be done, especially with everything.
Yeah. And lo and behold, I'm sure because you pushed past that feeling, look how bad the people that registered probably really needed that because of the times we were in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It allowed us to grow past Philadelphia, which was really dope.
Amen. Exactly. Look at the open door. Oh, wonderful. So my question is, all of the spirits that you had the pleasure and the honor of meeting and interacting with, off of the top of your head right now, has there been a connection that's been most impactful? Maybe a personal moment for you, or a personal moment that you saw someone else experience that just comes into your head?
That's tricky. I'll say I've met who I would call a sister now. I've met through the right echo. I haven't met her in real time yet.
Oh, wow.
She's Texas based, but she started virtual workshops. So a friend was doing it and she joined, kind of thing. And I feel very connected to her. I know we're going to meet in real time soon. Wow. There's like a lot, but like
so many,
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I've met like really amazing people that I've like, that's been dope. I've seen a couple be birthed. I don't know if there's still a couple, but I witnessed someone and I was like, wait a minute. Cause they also were some people that only joined workshopping during virtual.
Okay.
So like they met virtually first. I mean, they met in real time at some point, but like, like there's a couple that was born.
Oh, wow.
It's the feedback that happens too, where I get random messages from people just like talking about something someone reached out about I hosted a retreat like a year ago from February. It was like before the pandemic went.
Yes.
And I had got a message maybe not quite a year, but almost a year later, just talking about the impact that had, and just like to see the aftermath, and like to see the connections that are built, the ones that I've built, and then just to see that the impact is not a moment, it's a lifetime for some people. It's
yes.
Yeah, but there's not like a specific.
That was beautifully worded. The impact is a lifetime for some people. You go to an event like this and you feel that rush of breakthrough. Again, that you facilitated, that they are so grateful for. For some people, the breakthrough that they're experiencing is something that they have struggled with since childhood, something that they are fearing continuing to have to struggle with. And here you are with creative writing facilitation, and you've opened up their minds and spirits and helped them. Wow. When's the next workshop? I saw you have.
So that was another part of the pre-order party. Well, I decided to, because I haven't done workshops since December.
Okay.
And things are buzzing now. And I was like, yeah, it's time. So I'm going to be running a series in April. So it'll be a 3-part series. We're running with the moon. So there's a new moon on the 12th. Let me look at a calendar.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a new moon on the 12th of April. So I want to do it. We're doing the workshop in sync with the moon.
Perfect.
But in celebration of the book. So my hope is that everyone that, not necessary, but my hope is that everyone that joins the workshop series, whether one or all 3, they also have the book already, because I'm going to kind of play with the book a little bit. So the dates are going to be Tuesday evenings. So the new moon's the 12th, but we're going to do, because moon stuff you can do 3 days before or after.
Yes.
So everyone knows. So we're doing the new moon is the 13th kickoff date, is the Tuesday 13th. April, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, but it's virtual, so like anyone can join anywhere.
Yes.
And it'll be the consecutive Tuesdays, so the 20th and the 27th, the 27th being the full moon.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to do like new moon. We're going to all set intentions, plant
everything,
seeds, see what we can manifest in like the moon cycle.
Because the reason I started dancing, the reason I'm so excited is because my first thought was, yes, I have off on Tuesdays. I'm definitely in the building at some point. You can find me there. But then you said the 20th, and I'm like, when? I gotta do this on my birthday. Oh my God.
So the 20th is the day between the week on the day we're doing between the new moon and the full moon.
Perfect.
So like we're just gonna cycle and see what we can manifest. And
oh my goodness, I am
and disconnect and all
here for it. That's amazing. And this is one of the reasons why I was both scared and excited for this conversation, because now, while I have in my head the perfect conversational timeline for us, I also just want to drop it and talk about moon phases and all of that. But it's like I can't decide which one to do.
I can't decide for you.
I definitely
workshops are back and popping.
Workshops are back and popping, and
there's live events are going on too now that I'm getting
perfect
in Philly.
Right.
So these are virtual, the April, but I'm hoping in summer to have some live workshops.
So good to know. And I know the perfect way that I can go ahead and flip back around to moon phases and stuff. So I'll keep that in the back pocket. I got it. I wanted to speak on a quote. So we have your Work with the Right Echo workshop. And the fact that that is coming up, and you have your Tuesdays in April, so people have the opportunity to know about this and sign up, especially after hearing about how it impacts people, how impactful it is. But going into prior to the Right Echo, you being a doctor, you being a chiropractor, I have a quote here that you said that I want to speak on. On a personal note, I have been so excited about this conversation leading up to it. And I have been telling people, if it comes up in conversation and I'm talking about the podcast, I have friends that are like, so who's on season 4? And I'm like, Hava Rose is so amazing. And I will take a second to tell them I'll try to summarize why I think you're so great. And the thing that I keep repeating is she is a chiropractor, but she is doing that work with the understanding of how mental, emotional, and spiritual pain or stagnance can be inside of your physical body. And I'm just like, and I'm telling people that because I think that's such an amazing representation of who you are, the reason why you do the things that you do. So I'll read this quote, and then I would love for you to expand upon you infuse your beliefs into your work as a chiropractor. You said so much of the physical body pain is stagnant emotional pain that people are not even connected to anymore.
I said that.
You said that. You said it.
Oh, hi. So I've been a chiropractor for nearly, what year is it? 21?
Yes, ma'am.
Damn. And I graduated school in 2012. So however long that is. I've been in chiropractic work for
almost a decade.
Yeah, like too long. Wow. So yeah, nearly 10 years, 9 years, I guess. So yeah, physical pain is real. And the more I practiced and addressed physical pain for people, I just knew there was so much more. At first, it was the nutrition route, and I got to understand that there was a lot of buildup in people's bodies from what they're eating and like not nourishing with, and inflammation and da da da. And as I became more evolved and had my own journey to self when I was about 27, 28, I realized how much emotional layering was inside my own vessel. And this was like my own journey, right? And I just was able to understand even deeper how much baggage, heaviness is carried in most people's physical vessel, not just from physical trauma, injuries, such, also from nutritional layering, what they're giving their body, what they're not giving their body, but even deeper than that, because this is usually emotional and mental and well-being and lasting impressions, I should say, they start much earlier in our lives. And they have the thing where they say, if you look back at your 5 and 7-year-old self, there's usually a pain point at some point there that you can pick that kind of switched around how you processed, how you triggered, and all that stuff. So to understand that the physical vessel we have, right, is our only one, we get one chance to be in this vessel, and to understand that the best way to be in life for this vessel is light, unattached. The lighter you are, the better you feel generally. And the lightness is not just, it's not like a weight thing I'm talking about, although it is physical weight, but there's also so many other ways to become light. And much of that has to do with alleviating deep-rooted emotional and mental traumas, cyclical patterning, all these things that are actually causing many more pounds on your body, in a sense, and much more pain. And so much of people's pain resides in these deep subconscious levels that manifest physically. And as a chiropractor, I was able to witness that although I was helping someone and they alleviate their pain for 1, 2, 3 days, it comes back. Some of that being physical injury, physical, malfunction, I'll call it. But a lot of that is, the shoulder here, this is a pain body due to emotions. This has nothing to do, there's nothing physically wrong with your arm. There's nothing physically wrong with your shoulder. There's a lot of, and I mean, I don't say it quite like this for people, but to see it keep coming back and keeping the same area, their bodies and our bodies have muscle memory and centers within the muscles that hold memory. And a lot of the memory that's being held is this heavy mental and emotional memory that shows up in a physical form. I mean, when people go through something traumatic, physical, emotional, mental, it's essential for the longevity of your vessel and your being and your spirit to process. And in the world we live, there is not much space for processing, and there is not much access for processing. And what happens when things are not processed is they're held and they're not released and they're not seen from a different lens. And instead they get buried deeper and deeper until they're not seen, but they're felt consistently. And the pain body, the physical pain body, is what's being felt consistently from these traumas that are not processed, that are not seen anymore, that are forgotten about, essentially. But the vessel does not forget. The body does not forget. And, and it's not my place always to tell people or to share what I believe with people as patients. Not always my place. and I know where I can share a little bit more and share a little bit less. I understand that with people and patients, but I know that if everyone in this world, everyone in this universe, if everyone had the opportunity to process emotional points that cause pain, anguish, triggers, there would be much less physical symptoms. And much less in the physical realm where you'll see aches and pains. But I also know that we don't live in a world that's like, I mean, I think we're getting a little better, but like, even if it's trending and we're seeing it, the fact is there's not opportunity or places or funding for people to process.
Yes.
And it's really unfortunate. And so I do what I can with the right echo. And that's like kind of where I feel like at least I can help some people somewhere processing.
Plenty of people everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for that beautiful explanation. I was deeply moved by your breakdown as you were speaking when you mentioned the part about the shoulder. I mean, I have personal, connections, people in my life that are near and dear to my heart that are dealing with certain things that came to mind as you were explaining this. People that I have such a close relationship with, these are family members where I have seen all my life a specific physical manifestation of the emotional trauma that I also know exists. So while you were explaining, I was like, if that's what that is, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I agree with what you said. These particular spaces, unfortunately, are not promoted and supported in the way that some other spaces are.
Yeah.
So again, for you to facilitate the way that you have, for you to have stood up and done something about that in creating the right echo, for you to be who you are and allow me to feel confident about who I am in creating this space with the podcast. We are right here. We are doing that particular work. So you have my utmost understanding and support from this point on forever and ever. And I'm really, really enjoying getting to know you on that deeper level and having a better understanding of everything you've done.
Well, you created the opportunity here, so thank you.
Of course. It is literally my pleasure. So you mentioned when we talked about being a chiropractor that a lot of the right echo folks may have known what your timeline, your professional timeline was. So where were you prior to being a chiropractor? The office life, I believe, is what you mentioned earlier. You mentioned many different entrepreneurial pursuits. So what did that career path, and you mentioned finding yourself, in your late 20s. What was going on at that point?
Yeah, so I was in school my entire life up to 25, straight through, never took a break. Undergrad in chiropractic. And coming out of school, I kind of was not sure what I was going to do with the chiropractic. Like, was I going to open my own office? Was I going to work for someone? And in the meantime, I did like coverage work until I figured it out. And through that, I was ending a relationship. At some point, I ended up in an office. Same time, shortly after, was ending a relationship, ending that contract with the office, moving back home with my parents again. And I just like really took the inventory check on like, what is it that I actually like to do? Because there was something I like, and I believe in chiropractic medicine, but there was like something not clicking, and sitting in an office every day was like, eh. And I took that time to really just I went back to coverage work to allow myself the space and just kind of like figured out what I like to do. And took time to mend a broken heart and rediscover who I was, because I didn't really know what I liked anymore as an individual. Everything I liked was based on someone else's opinion, right? And so I took that time, and in that time, I ended up landing another office job that like was much more in the light of like, working 3 days a week, got a steady paycheck. Like I knew what I was making. I didn't have to do too much, didn't have to work too hard. And I was doing that, and then I started to be able to have other outlets, though, because I had steady money now coming in, but I wasn't working 5 days a week. I was like, this is the best. So I started kind of like little business ventures of the things I was actually interested in. I started a granola company at one point.
Nice.
and I started to travel. That was for I think it was the first year I was at that office, or the second, but my first big solo trip, I did a month in Thailand, because it was kind of like, if I'm not in the office, it was like an independent contractor. So I was like, well, I just don't get paid for a month, but at least he's like, well, bye, have a good trip.
Yeah.
And I just started to see the world, and I started to experience life very differently and as a complete individual. And it just opened my eyes to everything that's out there that we don't know is out there when you're raised by, parents who want something for you, and you're surrounded by the families and your friends are doing those things to you.
And you're giving a lot of yourself to a relationship.
Right.
Yes.
You get it. So that was that time in my life, I started to see the world and see how so many other people around my age or other ages, but like peers, were functioning in the life, and like seeing how much life they were living. And I was like, wow, like, this is wild. And,
so different.
Yeah, so different. And more as I got to see the world, and I'd come back to the Philly world, and it was back in the office, more and more, it became more and more difficult to be in an office. And there was a lot of benefit to the office gig I had, not to, but my soul quickly was slipping further and further from my grasp. As I experienced life I had at that, and then at that point, I think I actually decided, I sent like a resignation letter after a couple of years, and I did a yoga event out of state with a friend. I co-chefed with her, and then we kind of were like, whoa, this was a thing, let's birth a business. And we ended up doing a plant-based food experience company, essentially, where we did the food, but we kind of also curated the events. And so that became my reason for leaving the office. At that point, I said I'd rather get underpaid and overworked doing that than getting overpaid doing nothing here. So, and that's where I left the office. So it's been about probably 5-6 years at this point now. And I just kind of started figuring it out. I was like, I don't know what it's going to be. But I ended up seeing a couple clients that I had from a different office, because I have a portable table. And, I just like, maybe I just start building this house call business. Where I go to their home, or they come to, well, they were only coming to me at that point.
Okay.
And I was figuring it out, and I'm always figuring it out, right? It's never like an ending process, but the hope is that as you're figuring it out in forward motion, is you're also building more and more stability for yourself.
Absolutely.
So you have room to keep figuring it out.
Yes.
And I love how stability wasn't there.
Right. And I love how, when you say that stability, you can have stability of many types. So, you were after the spiritual or emotional and mental stability, aside from the financial or the physical stability, and we enter in and out of those phases and spaces at any given point, any given day. One day you're just focusing on the spiritual, and the next day you might just want to focus on the financial. So, I mean, you had it under control, although it may have felt like you didn't while you were in it, but it led you to here.
Financial stuff, I'm not so sure.
You're like, maybe. I understand.
I learned a lesson. I learned lessons in it. And now looking back, I'm like, I know I need to secure myself financially to allow the room to play that I want. Because I know that I can really, let me try this one out. I can really go out there, but it's important for longevity of my life and whatever future life comes after me, like to have that stability in finance. I didn't have it for a while.
Right. I understand.
It's okay. I figured it out. I learned my lessons, but so it's a wild world, but I do encourage people to play with the stability of all these things, but knowing that usually when there's a financial stability, it makes it easier to allow yourself to like try things
to play. Yes, absolutely. The truth. So you mentioned your parents, your upbringing. I absolutely relate with having parents that want a certain thing for you, that don't necessarily give you flexibility in that thing. And, they absolutely try their hardest and do their best to drive you into the position that they want to see you in, and rightfully so. Their thoughts on your path. What do you think those thoughts might be?
These are conversations that are like really present right now too.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. It used to be a lot tougher for me to talk about because I felt it judged and all these things. Yeah. Not to say that necessarily was going on, but I did feel I felt judged. I felt misunderstood. And I mean, look, I realize now the parents are just, there is a vested interest at heart that they have for their children, and they are raised a certain way that we don't necessarily know, and they're coming to the parenting table with the best that they know, right?
Yeah.
And what they know from life lessons, what helped them, and I know now that my parents just, they want me to be stable, right? That's one, they want me to make sure I'm secure and stable and equally happy.
Yeah.
But for them as a parent, they worry about the stability, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, it's nice because I feel really, I don't feel constrained in keeping things or like what I'm actually doing. And they'll always ask how many patients I'm seeing. They'll always want to see how that business is going.
Right.
But they equally are asking about the other things. And I think my mom specifically, she's a businesswoman. She owns a business, or part owns a business, and she worked her way up and like built her business and like is boss. So like she's always also very goal oriented because she's a businesswoman.
Okay.
She wants to know, she asked, actually the other night I was there for a Passover Seder, and she asked like, well, so what's your short-term goal with the book, and what's the long-term? Like what is that you foresee? And like, and I was able to be honest. And a lot of my conversations in the past I held back because I was more in the fear of the judgment, and they're not going to get it, and then I feel like I have to explain myself. It's not like just a sheer conversation. It's like, I need to explain myself so that they understand and so that I'm validated by that. But now I feel much more, I think, because I'm so understanding of what's going on. It's not like a toe in and a toe out kind of thing. I'm like, oh, try this thing. I feel like I'm really confident in what's going on in my life, and I feel I'm choosing it fully and going at it fully in my own pace, of course. But so it's easier to have these conversations, and being able to understand that my parents, there's some things they're always going to pressure for.
Yep.
Just because that's what they believe is best.
Just what parents do.
Yeah.
But thank you for being so honest about, relationships that are so close and intimate, as far as, you being able to be honest with your mother. I definitely have more insight now on some of the things that you've achieved, knowing that she is a businesswoman, because she is goal oriented. You may not see yourself as such because of that filter of your parents that you view yourself through sometimes, but from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, of course the right Echo is super successful. Of course this book is about to pop. Look at how business oriented and goal oriented your mom is. So that just gave me some insight. Makes sense.
Yeah, she's a boss, babe.
Now, I was listening into your interview with 𝘻𝓁, who we have to give a shout out to, a Philadelphia artist. She is of mixed culture. She is Cuban and Egyptian, extremely talented and very well known. And loved hearing the points that were brought up when you guys were speaking on Instagram Live.
I'm glad you got to tune in.
Yeah. And I learned something about you that I did not know. I did not know that you are of Jewish ethnicity.
Yeah.
So you had made a very interesting point that I was eager to touch on today.
Yeah.
You associated being Jewish with a level of like mysticism, so to speak. And one thing that I don't think that we've spoken about before is that the majority of my career has been spent in the private event industry, working for multiple companies based in Philadelphia, hosting, planning, facilitating, etc. for bar and bat mitzvahs. So when it comes to my experience with the culture, I love having had the exposure that I have had to Jewish culture and that very special celebration. And doing it for, like you said about being out of school, like doing it for almost a decade. Oh my gosh, it's been a decade. Holy cow. I didn't think about that.
That's intense.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure learning about the culture in those ways.
Yeah.
And what you said when you were interviewing 𝘻𝓁 about connecting, your ethnicity, your cultural background to mysticism. And you can expand on that word. That was the one that you used, but I know that is underneath of an umbrella of more. I would love to know in your personal experience how the two connect. I'm extremely interested in hearing your take on that.
Yeah, well, the Jewish religion there's a lot of mysticism within it. Kabbalah is one of the books that like Madonna took on, and like a lot of these superstars kind of dove into. And Kabbalah is like the book of like stories, and I think I'm not like expert, but there's a lot of like mysticism in that, and that's kind of a connecting point for a lot of, like I was saying, celebrities or other people to the Jewish religion is through the Kabbalah. Okay. They have that red bracelet that usually is a signifier of it. I think Britney Spears went through a phase of it. I don't know. But Jewish religion is full of, beyond the Torah or the Bible, essentially the Old Testament, right? Full of books of stories and play and midrash, which are like these stories told with lessons learned, kind of. So it's a big storytelling religion. And for me, growing up, I was always kind of against the grain. I felt forced into it. I was not into it, you know, and it like,
what? You didn't want to go to Hebrew school every weekend?
It was fun for the hangout, right? And the snacks. But like, and then as a young adult, I was kind of like embarrassed of being like, I didn't share that piece of me. I was just like, it was always felt like force fed to me.
Interesting.
And it wasn't until recently where I took a trip to Israel with my sister. Nice. Yeah, via Birthright. So this was like 4 years ago, because they extended they opened it to older Jews.
Wonderful.
So I was like, at the year, it was like the year I went, it was like I had to go that year, or wouldn't, because
wow. Oh, I'm so glad you were able to go.
So it was really dope for me to go and still know what they were like. I knew I'd been to Israel before. I'd seen the same tour. You know, it's pretty cookie cutter with that stuff. But and we were led by the tour group guy was someone who was converted, like pretty religious, and had moved to Israel. So super like in the religion. Wow. But I had a moment where I realized within that trip, I think it was like we were like in the desert and with the Bedouins and laying out, watching the stars in the desert at night. We're like, it's endless. And I had that moment of realizing that what's really dope is my DNA, my blood, my ancestry is Jewish. And the dopest part is whatever I want to believe, whatever I bring to the table, that is my religion. That is my practice. Like I don't have to practice. I don't have to live a certain way for me to claim my Judaism. It's whatever I am, because it's in me, like regardless. And for me, that was like the big shift of my own like connection to the religion. But growing up, there was always like stories and lessons learned, and there's a big spiritual aspect of the Jewish religion. Now there's like many different levels of practicing it, and people interpret things differently, right? Yes. But to me, there's so much play and fun and spirit in the religion. And those are the stories, like, so I can't repeat a lot of them. I'm not like great at this anymore because I'm so disconnected. But yeah, there's just so much like even Hanukkah. That's like a great example of like, it's really just like a metaphor of life. Yeah. But like the whole thing of like the 8 days of Hanukkah, the temple was burned down or whatever it was. It was like, but they had the one little bit of oil left to light the candle. And somehow this little bit of oil that was for one day lasted 8 nights. And like, it was a miracle. And like, things like that. It's just like a lot of like this spirit energy and mysticism in a lot of these stories.
The stories are exercising spirituality and faith and belief, as well as creativity and imagination itself. Yeah. When you put all of those together, this is what you get. That's amazing. Thank you very much for that insight.
That's my own.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but
no, but either way, you absolutely shared with me things that had never been shared before. Like I said, when you said it, I was like, wait, what? Wait, hold on. That's extremely interesting. And again, it's crazy for me to have worked in close quarters for so many years and not have full understanding of the point that you had made. So I'm grateful for the way that expands upon your culture, your cultural background, your specific Hava's identity, and then connecting it to, again, the things that you believe and the things that you are doing with your beliefs right now. It's also impactful.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we have gone all the way back now. Now we've gotten to childhood, which I knew this was going to happen this way for the record. But I just love, you've given me so much to work with. I'm extremely grateful. And speaking on your childhood, speaking on feeling forced, having your religion and your culture forced upon you, but wanting to bring your childhood up, that will now completely bring us full circle back to where we started with the book. Because this book is based on Or would you say based on, or is there another phrase you would want to use for how the writing of the book is connected to your journal entries, your childhood or lifelong journal entries?
Well,
is it based on?
I mean, it is.
Okay.
It is journal entries.
Okay.
Of a period of time. I think the earliest I have, because I date each journal entry, it is dated. So you'll see the date it was written.
I don't want to get too far away from this, and I don't want to forget. It's perfect right here. Are there people in your life that encouraged you to journal when you did start journaling?
No, I think when I started, it was super like private, super like up late at night with a flashlight in my bed journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, maybe my parents. I mean, I guess I would bring like journals with me on road trips, but it was like super private. It wasn't like out.
And how old would you? Right. How old would you say you were when you started that?
Yeah, I was about 14 when I started journaling. And I got my first official journal from my friend as a birthday gift when I turned 16.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I always had notebooks and stuff. And I was like even before journaling, like full on journaling, I was someone that would like write down song lyrics, or like I just like to rewrite other people's poetry. So yeah, I was always like I liked the act of writing too.
Yes,
that was some of it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then when you transformed, aside from liking the act of writing, when did your writing transform into something that was so much more intimate or poetic to you, or personal?
Yeah, I think, I mean, within that 14-year-old, 15-year-old time frame is when it shifted. And for me, it was just my way to release. I would I kept to myself a lot. I didn't talk too much in the house anyway. As much as like, and it was just a form of releasing for me, and like feeling like, I guess romantic is the word, of like, if I write these things and like profess these things, they'll come, kind of like a romanticism, kind of like anything, or like, or getting bad things out and being like, as if like someone, like, this is maybe how so in my head, it was almost like I was the movie and the screen, and what was going on, it was a narration of what I'm writing out loud, right? Like that kind of like where I feel like I'm being witnessed, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. That's kind of the best way I could describe it. At that age, anyway, that's what it felt like for me.
I understand.
Yeah.
And what, again, bringing it full circle to daydreams, delusions, and connections, how could you summarize? Okay, I open this book. What am I finding? And how is the writing that I'm reading when I open your book, how is it connected to Hava, the core of Hava?
I mean, you're opening the book to a look inside my mind at a moment in time. So the words are, literal words that poured out of me. Dependent on the timeline. Definitely plays a role. It's like looking in. I feel like it's going to be intimate. You're looking into someone's journal in that sense.
And this will be a movie one day, correct? Because
who knows?
That's what I just felt very strongly. If it's truly these little words,
lying in bed and writing, right?
The timeline. Well, no, not only I love how you explained it once you did grasp that concept of like it's like the narration of the way life was happening to me in my particular life's movie, right?
Yeah.
So in the way that we could go through the timeline, I mean, is this the evolution of the maturity of who you are as a woman? And because it is so intimate and so detailed, there would be so much for a movie director to work with. And it would be such a crazy journey for people to go on.
Well, I'll be really curious to hear feedback, because not all of it. But I'd be curious to hear, like, specifically from you, because we've had this deep dive conversation.
Yes.
Feedback and reading, because for me, I'm also like, some of my writing, it's not necessarily so concrete. A lot of the writing I do journal, it's more abstract. So you might not like understand. You won't know like the specifics of what was going on in my life at the time. You don't know necessarily, but it's just an idea of like where my mind goes in its thoughts. thoughts, you know?
That makes it all the more exciting. Like, I truly want this to be a movie now, for the record. Like, I'm putting that out there.
Okay.
Because I feel if I could put myself into a director or cinematographer's shoes, that level of openness and abstract thought and thinking, to me, that just leaves these gateways of, okay, this may be what I see on paper from Hava Rose. And because this one's a little bit more open and abstract, how do I interpret it? And now here we have this is so cool.
Great.
Please,
you're giving me new ideas. I'm like,
tell your mom. Tell your mom.
Mom, I'm making a movie.
Right, Mom. You know how you asked me the other night what's happening? Well,
I'm actually making a whole film on this book now.
But wait, I hope. Listen, this is like burning within me. I have a love for cinematography and theater in that way. So like, I really just.
I'm down to brainstorm some things. I'm not against it. It just wasn't in the process.
Oh, you wait till I get this book, girl. You shouldn't have said that, because now I cannot wait to see it.
I want to preface that this is planning to be one of a trilogy.
Oh, nice. Okay, wonderful.
So this is not the only one, but the next book I have it planned for 2 more, but similar, where I'm pulling journal entry, like similar.
Okay.
Different categories in the next one, and the last one will likely be more of a, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, I do the daily dose.
Yep.
And that's just kind of like these 1-2 liners that I like to do
per
day. And so the last book is going to be pulling from that concept.
Right.
But essentially these 3 books are already written. It's just a matter of me putting them together.
Got it. I'm grateful for how connected we are, because this is not the first time you've done it. You have mentioned authentically the direction that I knew I wanted to go into. So thank you. Thank you for mentioning Instagram. So I love how we've come full circle. And I said earlier, remember I said I was going to put this in my back pocket because I want to talk about it so bad, but it's not the right time. Your Instagram.
Yes.
On a personal note between you and I.
Okay.
It is so inspirational for me, and to have just started this platform, the podcast platform. I don't want to call it a struggle, because I don't think that word is what it is. I think it's a struggle, but I have just been thinking on and wondering, curious about where the intersection of the podcast platform and my personal life is. Where do the two meet? It's something I'm excited to figure out and find out and play around with. And I admire and love the way that you have intersected the two, the way that you present yourself on Instagram, just your image, your outreach. I think you're doing a wonderful job with it. And I absolutely, and you can tell that it's intentional, especially in your reactions now. I can tell it's something that you put thought and work into. That is absolutely seen and felt.
Yeah.
So to see that you implement your belief in astrology and what you know about astrology into what you post and how you represent and present yourself to the world, it's just very inspirational. And I'd like to know if there's anything that you can speak on, of course, anything that you can speak on the purpose or the process, I should say, of figuring out that that's what you were going to do, or obtaining a certain confidence in yourself to say, this is how I want the world to see me, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care what anybody else thinks, etc., because that's a lot, especially in today's day and age with social media.
Social media has been it's a love-hate, right? And for me, during the pandemic, I took some time away. I wasn't on it as much, but it also made me realize, like, there is a thing with having a following. I do want to build a following. I want to build it bigger and bigger. And I want to use the social media, not be used by it. Like, I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to create that, although it's harder with algorithms always. But I did struggle with, like, trying to figure out, like, well, what is it that I'm representing? What is it that people come to me for? What is it that I want to share? What is it I don't want to share? And I'm really fortunate to have people in my life that, do these brainstorms with me, and push me, like, come on, you got to think, like, what do you, when someone comes to the Hava Rose or drhavarose.com or Hava Rose at Instagram, like, what is the message you want to convey?
I'm literally taking notes right now because I'm so
take notes. Yeah. I mean, this is all stuff like I would used to watch this on YouTube too. There's a lot of people out there that do marketing stuff, but like, you know, it's easier when it's one-on-one, like someone I know telling me and asking me these things. And, you know, I have an idea of what I want to be known for. But I also know there's some things that people come to me for. So like, not to say like, I don't want those, but maybe that wasn't, you know, what we see ourselves as is different than what other people see.
Right.
So taking all that to account and taking risks and deciding like, yeah, I want to start to shift the direction of my page. And you can see it if you scroll, like it's shifted. And I've archived. I have also like taken away a lot once I started to get clearer on what was good for the brand building. That's still authentic to me. They're all authentic to me, but seeing like what looks aesthetically good, also looking at the analytics, like what are people like, what are they liking? What are they sharing? Like, what do they want? What are they finding value in? Right. And understanding that, because that's big. And sticking to those things. And for me, I know that I've incorporated the moon stuff specifically. New moons, full moons, super moons, eclipses, those things I've included in the Right Echo workshops for almost as long as I can remember. Like if I started to plan, like I would always have full moon workshop. Like that was always the one that was the most filled. If there was a full moon workshop, I knew like that will have no problem selling. Like
that's awesome.
You know, so and so for me, it's fun. I'm very into astrology on zodiac sign stuff, and like I love reading the charts. And I'm no astrologist, but I enjoy it. And being a Cancer, a Cancer zodiac sign, I am like run by the moon, and I just feel super connected to the moon. So for me, the moon thing is what's really powerful for me. But I also understand that we are connected to the universe, and the universe is part like the astrology, the stars, the planets. So it's just fun. It's like a fun piece for me. That's like my play. That's like, oh, let me research what this new moon, what the moon's about this month. Create some affirmations for it that makes sense. And that's like fun. That's like fun stuff for me. But I also know that people also enjoy it. Like like people like that stuff. And for me, it's always been something I do on my own. Why not share it? You know, I used to do it all the time, like read into the full moon and maybe do a full moon ritual with some girlfriend. But it was like, and then I was like, oh, well, I'll just share it. I'm already doing it. So.
Right. Why not share?
Yeah. So it's part of like my fun way to connect to the universal level and like the earth and Mother Earth. And so we're elements just like the earth is. We're made up of the same thing. So we're all the same matter. So why not play in it, you know?
Thank you for that. I am that much more excited for the workshop series in April for the digital workshops, knowing that, I mean, I just love having your why now, you know, and being able to connect something that you feel personally about to coming to this personal experience and process that you're going to facilitate, the space that you're going to hold. So that makes it more meaningful.
This is the first time I'm doing one where we're like, I'm cycling with the moon. Like we're starting with the new moon and ending at the full moon. That's it. Like we're going to do a cycle and see what we can get what magic we can brew.
Right. And then reflect on all of it afterward. This is going to be, wow.
I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. And I thank you again. With that being said, I have essentially a closing question, a closing thought as we round it out.
Beautiful.
But always want to end one, knowing that this will be published to a platform, knowing that I will support and promote your spirit because of how I feel about it. Is there anything that you want to be sure that anyone knows and hears from you before we wrap up? Aside from go check out Daydreams, Delusions, and Disconnections, because
sign up for the workshop.
No, you're right. I definitely
come meet the community. They're fucking epic. Yes. But I really just want to like echo, which is like one of the words, obviously, echo that, you know, no one's alone. You have anyone and anyone has same opportunity as exploring as you do. So I would say just get up and explore and find the community that supports your exploration. That's the most important. Yeah. Yes.
That one hit home for me. Sorry.
Yeah, it's real.
Find the people.
The community part, it makes it much easier to swim around in the sea of exploring.
Yes, it has been so fun. The only word that even comes to mind is fun. and freeing, not only to find that community, but then to know that I just want the world to know about that community. So it's I've been investing so much in these people, and perfect segue. Gotta shout out 𝒻𝓁𝑜𝓌𝓈.
Oh, Evan. Oh, gee.
Because if not for that person who is a part of the community that you and I are speaking of right now, you and I would not have met. So everyone, season 2 guest 𝒻𝓁𝓿𝑜𝓌𝓈, I'm sure everyone remembers because his interview was very memorable, unforgettable. And he connected Hava and myself. And it was so special. The way he was just like, yo, Hava Rose, go follow her Instagram right now. Connect the two of you. The two of you have to get together. Blah, 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 blah. Look at that community, that sense of community of
I know,
we are connected here. We are connected here. The triangle has to be connected here. It's so gorgeous. And I've just been having so much fun investing into those relationships and connections.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Evan. Using that as a segue before we wrap, I always let every guest know that your decision to be a guest here on the podcast means that you have signed on. You didn't sign any papers. You don't know that you signed on, but you signed on to being supported and appreciated and admired and adored infinitely. It doesn't stop. That's my thing. I'm so excited from this point on to see and hear about everything that you do starting today and onward, and to make sure that the platform that will listen to this, that will see this and have gotten to know you, making sure that the platform continues to know about you. The Live Light series that I had been doing on IG Live is for that reason. These are guests from season 1 and season 2, and I'm like, I still need everybody to know how awesome you are.
Thank you.
So that's what got that started. So I hope to be doing another one of those.
Follow-up. I love that.
Yeah. Everybody has to know that you continue to shine such a bright light out into the world, and it doesn't stop. So anything that you do, please fill me in on it, because I'll be putting it on blast. I'm really excited for everything with the book. Of course, you absolutely deserve it. And my closing question, with your meaningfulness when it comes to the phases of the moon, with your mention of you being of the Cancer zodiac sign, and you're not just a Cancer sun, you have a Cancer stellium, I believe you said.
I have a rising and a moon.
Rising and okay, gotcha. Triple. So to be that connected to the moon, to the universe in that way, and I just want to let me just drop this gem, everybody. Okay, before you go ridiculing anybody,
let's go.
The moon is the reason that your feet are on this ground right now. Okay, guys. All right. Before you go questioning stuff, if not for the moon, we'd all be drowning in the ocean. So I just had to put that out there. That's my favorite thing to share when people are like, astrology? And I'm just like, what? You're standing here because of it. Okay. So to be tied to the phases of the moon, I would like to wrap by asking you for any outstanding or meaningful thought when it comes to just the phases of life, the ebbs, the flows, the ups and downs, life's phases. What does Hava Rose have to think and say about those?
Don't resist them, and just flow. Just the resistance is what causes most of those eroding factors. So allow and just flow and be, and know that with an up comes a down, and with a down comes the opportunity after. Yeah. Release the resistance, though.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the ride.
Yes. Yeah. Don't be scared. No. Thank you. That was perfect. So much of what you've said today, I personally need to hear. I know so many people will be grateful for your words, your thoughts, and your spirit.
Thank you so much.